Hi there. In our previous tutorial, we saw that how can we deploy Node.js application. In this tutorial, we are going to see that how can we deploy a MERN stack application. So let's see how can we do that. For that, I have my backend and frontend side by side. So and let's run our backend so that start, and in our frontend yarn build. At first we have to build our project because it is a Next.js project, my front end. So let's little bit time. Now I can see, if I click this button, I can see my server is working fine because this data comes from my backend and my server. Let's see the code a little bit. For that uh, app page, as you can see, I am fetching my data from the backend, and backend is running in 5000. So now let's see how can we deploy this application in the backend. So for that, let's close our front end and backend. Now to that, for that, I have to go to my, let's open another terminal so that this one will be act as our client application, and this one will be as our server. So let's log into server SSH. My server IP, server username and username Riazul at the rate of 192.168.0.8, sorry, 0.80. I can access this one. It says that my this host already exists. That means I have to remove this warning. So this warning is nothing, that I changes my VPS server sometimes. That is the reason I access same IP earlier tutorial. So that is the reason it shows this error. So let's fix this error. For that, keygen, now it will be the server IP 192.168.0.80. Now if I try to log in again, now I can see it asks the password. Now I am in my server, and you can see that I can log in either by this way, or I can log in by directly Ubuntu server, because I configured that in my SSH config file. If you don't understand, then you can check out my previous tutorial. So I am in my server. So at first I have to create a project with the same name. So that let's create, at first we need a directory. For that directory, it will be current directory apps. Then I am giving the same name so that I can remember. The name is the MERN stack, and we need two directory. One is repo, and another one is destination. That means dest. cd apps MERN stack repo. Now we have to configure this repo as a remote repository, and we already configure our this repo as a client repository. For that, I can check out like git status or git log. I can see that this repository is created as a client repository, because if I type ls or lsa, now I can see that my git folder is available here because it is a client repository. But if I create server repository, remote repository, then it will be git init dash dash bear. Now I can see if I learn this command ls, I can see here is no .git file folder. Instead I have this file structure. So let's create our bash script in the hook file. We already discussed in our previous tutorial. So we have two type of repository. One is the local repository that be able to add or modify file in the stage and finally push to the backend or the remote repository. And remote repository has a hook folder, and inside that we will create a post receive file which will be as a bash script file. So as soon as we trigger git push command from the local repository, that bash script will be triggered. And of course we have to pass our server VPS server details instead of GitHub details. So let's see how can we do that. At first we have to create a Vim. If I am comfortable with Vim text editor. You can use any text editor you prefer, like Nano. I am using Vim hooks. We have to create a file called post receive. That file name must be post receive. So if I go to this, let's create our bash script. Bash. It indicates that this file will be as a bash script file. So at first we have to git dir. That means we have to copy. Let's pwd. We have to copy this repository. We have to copy the we have to copy any repository available in the repository folder will be moved or colon to the destination folder, because when we push something from the client side, that data will be available in the repository, and then we will copy in this location. So it will be, we will copy from here to, it will be work tree. That means we will copy from this location to the destination location, and let's check out to our forcefully main branch. Now we have copied all the files from this location to this location. That means in destination folder we have branch and backend folder and frontend folder. So let's cd to the dest destination folder. Actually destination not, we will backend, and here we will run our install command, install and yarn start. And same way we will create another one for our frontend. So it will be frontend. Make sure you have the same name as your directory, because when we push, then it will copy same file or same folders. So it will be frontend, and frontend has another command, yarn build command, because it is a Node.js application. So it must have run build before start. So this is our script, but instead of yarn start, we will use the pm2 start. It will be yarn, name will be backend, and our script will be start. Instead of this we will run this, and same way instead of this one we will run, let's put it content. We will, so instead we have to run this command, but we want that every time we push, instead of triggering new process, we want to like pm2 restart backend. That means instead of running this command, it will restart our this application, or that means that this name given, and we will run this script or this command in our backend folder. Similarly, instead of this one, we will use content, and let's copy this line, comment this line, because we will trigger this two script in our front-end part. So let's our script is done, but let's add little bit log, like echo. It will be post receive, so that we can get little bit log that what's going on. So it will be cloning repo, and let's installing backend, and actually let's put here, and it will be installing content, and let's put another one here. It will be building front end, and then now our script is ready. So we have, let's check out ll or ls long, and then hooks post receive. We can see that this is a regular file because it doesn't have had execution permission for user and neither for group. So let's pass some execution permission, because it is a bash script, so it must have execution permission. So for that, chmod, we can user and group, it will be execution permission for hooks post receive directory. If I run this VPS command again, I can see my execution permission has both side, and also it has the active color. So let's go. Now we have to run these two command in our destination folders backend folder and destination folders frontend folder. So let's go to our cd destination backend. I do not have backend yet, so let's push at first, so that our frontend and backend will be available after first push. So for that, let's pwd, we need this path, because we are going to connect in the frontend part, sorry, in the client local repository. For that, let's git remote v. I can see I have previous remote repository, so git remote deploy. Now let's add our new one, git remote add name deploy, deploy deploy. It will be ssh colon / username, actually username, that is my backend VPS server's username, and my VPS server's IP 192.168.0.80. So if I go to, I can see IP address, I can see my IP address is 80. So 192.168. Now I have to copy paste the path, that the location that we currently have our POSIX repository. That means pwd, this location. So if I enter, now let's check out git remote v. Everything looks, but still let's check out so that our path is valid or not. For that, I have to type same command, same line, but let's little bit. Now instead of ssh it will be this way, and here we will run ls list. Now I can see I can accessing my same directory. That means my URL is valid. So let's push our our project to the VPS server. For that, git push deploy. Now I can see my receiving, that means my backend script running and it installing, but I can see that my backend namespace is not found. That is because we did not run yet these two script in the destination folder, because that at first time there was nothing. So we will run a little bit later after in second time. So let's see, it is building. Now it will also throw the similar error that fountain is not found. So let's wait a little bit. Now we have that same error. Okay, this is the error. Now let's go to our VPS server and run those two scripts. So for that, I have to go to my destination folder and at first backend. Now run pm2 start yarn command, and then name was backend, and run the static script. Now my static script is running. So if I check ss TCP port listening number, grep will be node. I can see my backend is ready. So let's run the same command in the front-end folder, front-end, and run the pm2, but this time it will be front-end. Now I can see my front-end and backend is running. So if I go to my browser, instead of localhost, I have to type my server IP 192.168.0.80, and it will be colon 3000. Actually it's not working. Let's see. Let's push one more time, because our first push was ignored. Our first push was ignored. So let's update our file a little bit. Let's let's 3 years. So our git status add git commit updated git push deploy. Now I can see my Node.js is this time it is success, and in the Next.js application, that means our front end is still building. Wait a little bit. We can see our front end also success. So if I run, sorry, let's go to our server, if I refresh the page, I can see my deployment is success. Now if I change anything from our front end, all I have to do just git push. So let's this time change something in the front end part. So I have front end is same log, so let's remove one in my front end app pages. So I can see it has two log, remove one and remove this line too. Now if I sorry, what I miss, git git cd, actually I am in the backend side. So git add git commit removed duplicate h2 git push deploy. Now I can see my deploy is very fast, and again it is building because Next.js application take some times to build in the static site generation SSG. Wait a little bit. Now it is done. So if I refresh my page, I can see it is updating. That means all the changes we need to do from the front end, just change and git push, our backend will be ready. Now one more thing before I finish the tutorial, because when we deploy our application with the PM2, it has another feature. That means if our server goes down for some reason, so when our server is up, we want that our application will automatically will be up. So for that, systemd has a feature called services, daemon service, so which can be run on system boot time. So we do not have to create that systemd service daemon, because PM2 has already for that. So I have to run PM2, it will be startup PM2 startup command. Copy it. Now our startup daemon service is created. So as soon as our system is up, this our project will be up. And one more thing before I go, it will be that we have PM2 list. We have two process running on backend and on frontend. So we want that backend will be run first and frontend will be second, because our frontend depend on the backend. So for that we have to run another command, PM2 save. What this command does, this command will run synchronously. That means one after another instead of parallel processing. So I think this is the complete tutorial that how can we deploy our MERN stack application. If you understand how can I create this bash script and run multiple commands according to our project's needs, you will be able to deploy any kind of application. It doesn't have to be Node.js application. You can be able any kind of application. So let's see in the next tutorial. In next tutorial, we will see that how can we create a domain name. Actually, we will deploy our project with the Apache web server. So instead of running some weird port number, we will run either port 80 or port 443 port for the HTTPS. So, and we will also see that instead of IP address, we will run our by our domain name. So let's see in the next tutorial.